Jalen Carter. We have the graphic again one more time, right? For those that do not know, if you're just joining the show, an arrest warrant has been issued for Georgia defensive tackle potential number 1 pick Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing. Stems from the January 15th crash that took the life of a teammate and a staffer. So my understanding, and guys, look, I know we're in the journalism business and things like that. I'm not a legal expert. I do not pretend to be. This stuff is fluid. We find stuff out as it goes on. We have people that do that in the audience and things like that. Robert Colosi is an audience member, with a legal background and everything. His note on this is, they are all misdemeanors. So you're looking at Better Call Saul. They get him a bullet. 1 year, meaning he'll do 6 months. He'll fight all this, so that will drag out longer. And the key word in all this, to me, D-Mac.
Drag?
No. Misdemeanors.
Oh, misdemeanor.
Driving misdemeanor, reckless drive. It sounds awful, right? It does, and my heart.
No, it is awful.
My heart breaks for the families.
We're not talking about that somebody lost their life when we get all this. It's the reality of where we're at now and what moving forward.
Because this doesn't change. The Lions have the 6th pick. The Lions need interior defensive line help. These are all factual statements, and I'm not being obtuse. I'm not. Spencer right now is hitting the keyboard, and you know where we're going with this. 2 misdemeanors. That seems to be the charge. Again, this is fluid. I'm not legal genius, okay? Right here, right now, you're comfortable drafting them at number 6. Because, D-Mac, until I get different information, I am.
No, absolutely.
I'm 100%
How can you not? Unbelievable. If we're going to sit here and talk about drafting, what is it, the Indiana, or the...
Brandon Miller.
Sorry, Brandon Miller, the Alabama kid at 3 with different things going on. Yes, unfortunate situation. Misdemeanor is the key, but, the talent level and stuff like this. So, like I said, to me, he's still right there on my board. We're still pushing all those quarterbacks up front, so if he falls. I mean, it's unfortunate, and we'll see it all play out, but you nailed it in the landscape of college and professional sports. Misdemeanor means that, and I see it, whether it's cooperation to plead down to whatever else.
Hey.
If it was more serious, to me, this is this more along the lines of like the Mozzie Smith?
Here, let me read you guys the official statement. It's
oh yes.
As a result of ongoing investigation into the January 15th, 2023 fatal crash that occurred on the 900 block street of Barrett Shoals Road in Athens, Clark County Police Department has secured arrest warrants for Jalen Carter, 21, for reckless driving and racing. The investigation found that Chandler LaCroix, the driver of the 2021 Ford Expedition, and Jalen Carter, driver of a 2021 Jeep Trackhawk, were operating their vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving a downtown Athens area at about 2:30 a.m. With evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling at about 104 miles per hour. The toxicology report indicated that LaCroix's blood alcohol content was 0.197 at the time of the crash. Investigators determined that alcohol impairment, racing, reckless driving, and speed were significant contributing factors to the crash. And Jalen Carter left the scene you don't know if it was like before the crash happened and he just kept going, or after the crash happened and he told police that he was a mile away, and then that he was behind them and saw the taillights, and then that he was right next to the car. And
that's all going to be sorted out.
They will all be sorted out. Yes.
And he has left the combine.
Well,
he has left Indianapolis.
Yes.
And I would assume to go back to Georgia to handle these matters. I would assume. I don't know.
So my question is, Neil, regardless and this, because what do we care about, right? We care about our Detroit Lions and where they draft. All these answers to figure out if it's suspended, if you'll be able to play, all the legal stuff you would expect by draft time to come out. But until then, you're not taking them off your board or shying away from them until you have more information.
Right. As it sits right now.
As it sits right now.
Right
That's
here,
what we're trying to make.
And if he's driving the other car, you know what I'm saying? And look.
But that's new information. We're sitting
we're
right here today, March 1st.
What I just heard
came out after what we heard, where we're at. right?
That's where I'm at with it.
Right.
And look, we can all we were all young at one time. You know what I'm saying? And obviously it's tragic. It's certainly tragic. And he was driving the other car. Does that excuse his behavior? No. Should he not be prosecuted for his actions? Absolutely. In a manner concurrent with that, I'm fine with it.
Here's the big question, right? When it comes down to, and we talk about Brad Holmes drafting guys, but do you think that with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, as far as, remember we always in the past it would always be the Lions won't go out of the way to an unscrupulous person, right, to taint whatever else, even if their play on the field would help, right? What I'm saying there is bodes true, right? As far as character guys, my question is, and this is how I feel, at the end of the day, no matter what comes out on any player, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and the Lions will do their due diligence on whether these are red flags, whether this is something that, like you said, was more of an immature act, and should be responsible for, right? Was a one-time thing, or is a character flaw that will cause something down the road, right? I trust in Brad Holmes that they do the due diligence.
Absolutely, they will.
If they did choose him, if this is the way it was, I'm comfortable with that. That's why it's so important to trust whoever's in charge of whatever team it is, and because not only for the talent-wise on the field, but also character-wise off the field, right? Are you worried about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes having a guy not of the team mindset and the character that they need to win in here? Even if it's talent, like if he's not their type of guy to win with, they're not going to take him. Are you confident?
Yeah, 100%.
So I am too. So the due diligence, right, will be done legally, all this stuff. So I mean, I'm not worried about if they did or they didn't. They'd have their reasons.
Well, and look, we have the poll going right now. Would you draft Jalen Carter if he fell to 6? 75% of people say yes. And Sam Flannel, and there's lots of people here. Philip C. says he lied and fled. He deserves a felony charge. We've seen people get felony charges before and get on the plane and fly to the game.
And just quick facts. Sorry, Flannel. Reckless driving and drag racing or racing are misdemeanors in the state of Georgia.
So there you have that.
Sure.
But Sam Flannel, we've seen this before.
Yeah, with what we know now, with all the facts that have come out, it sounds like a case when it comes to Jalen Carter of incredibly poor judgment. But who even showed even more poor judgment was the young lady who lost her life, who was driving drunk, and the Georgia football player who was in the passenger seat, and he ended up losing his life too as a result of it. It was just an incredibly stupid thing for everyone to be doing. I don't know why you're racing when you're young. You think you're invincible, and two of them paid the ultimate price, and that is terrible. But that wouldn't change me wanting to draft Jalen Carter.
These things are separate in a vacuum.
Yes,
they are, and I know that some people get upset by that. But I eliminate all the ancillary stuff to it. This is Jalen Carter charged with 2 misdemeanors for driving. We've all had a driving offense at some point in this room. Spenmo had to fight the law just last month.
Fought the law a couple months ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the law didn't win.
No. If Spenmo got out of it, he's still here.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
but seriously though, it's one of those things where it is in a vacuum for me. He's charged with 2 driving felonies. As it sits right now, I do not see a problem with it.
I mean, and I hate to play this sort.
It sounds bad.
Yeah,
Sam Flannel, I know it sounds like I'm being an a-hole standing up here saying it. But I live my life in this. This is what is concerned with this. So as we look at it, 2 misdemeanor driving charges. That's what it is.
I mean, and think about this. And I don't like to play this sort of game of what happened in other instances. But Leonard Little, remember Leonard Little? After he was drafted by the Rams, he actually had a drunk driving offense in which he was proven to have killed someone while driving, and he went on to have a damn good career with the Rams, was a big part of that team in 2001 that made the Super Bowl and lost. And how about Dante Stallworth? He was another one. I believe it was in the late 2000s, hit someone and killed them while drunk driving, and even old-ass, washed-up Dante Stallworth, after that happened, got another chance in the NFL. Well, there's no reason you shouldn't draft Jalen Carter because of this, with what we know now.
Here's the one thing. I see Josh S. I think people owe Todd McShay an apology on this one. He got killed for saying Jalen Carter might have character issues. Well, here's the whole thing. If that is true, then the levy is open and whatever else, we will find that out. My question is, you're confident to find out if this is a character issue, if this is a habitual thing, before
they will spend a lot of money
picking
and a lot of resources.
6, right?
Yes. They will.
And so that the confidence would be when I'm sitting there and if he's picked at 6, then I know that all that due diligence was done by my team or whatever like that, and I have confidence in that. So either way, it coming out now, right? Obviously, you want the means to an end, but I look at my organization, and I look at the Lions draft, and this doesn't change a thing.
No.
To me, it doesn't change a thing. In the past, it might have. Let's go Red Wings Sparty. In the past, he would have immediately been off our draft board. Yes, I agree. He would have, along with probably a dozen other guys.
And that, D-Mac, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the prime example to me. Remember the Randy Moss draft, where they passed on Randy Moss because of, quote, character issues, and instead you got Jermaine Crowell, that he was your receiver. How'd that work out? Randy Moss went on to go to the Hall of Fame.
He's got his own segment on Monday Night Countdown.
That's what I'm saying with this here. And Patty Grimes said if it was your relative that died, you would feel different. And probably I would, Patty. Probably I would. But at the same time, we're dealing with this in the vacuum of Jalen Carter. 2 misdemeanors, that's the charge. That's not a prison sentence to me. It's not. That's what the law says. Again, this is consistent with when we talked about the Mozzie Smith thing, when it all went down like that. I didn't have a problem with Mozzie Smith getting on the plane and go. They didn't put him in jail.
You know, Patty brings that up. Spenny, what's the kid from the basketball kid's name?
Brandon Miller.
What is it?
Brandon Miller.
Somebody died there. Right? You look at that situation, right? So it's the same thing, but we're dealing with it in its strict vacuum. That's what we have to say. You got to take the feelings out of it, and this is the way that it is. And it's not right or wrong, guys. It's just what is. And when you figure out in life, if you just figure out the why, then you can figure out which way to go from there.
Right. And I draft both of them.
It's just no matter what.
And Rack says, but Jalen Carter wasn't driving the car that killed anyone. He was just there. I'm not excusing at all, but and that is a factual statement, Rack. That is a factual statement.
It's the same thing as Brandon Miller, right? Where he was driving to the Texas.
Police talked to him.
You know what I'm saying? So this will all come out to whatever else, and maybe. It's good right now. He wasn't doing the combine anyway. I know he was going to do an interview or whatever, but all this can maybe get behind for the kid, and if whatever the facts of the case, then we can move forward.